What's going on? Eddie Pinero here, and today I want to talk about something that's pretty cool. It's been a long time coming. It's my journey from $0 to $1 million made in ad revenue on YouTube. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with me or my work, the YouTube channel that I'll be referencing is my primary channel that I started in 2014, now called Eddie Pinero. And it's where I write motivational speeches, share stories that inspire me, and just kind of delve into the highs and lows of life, philosophize, analyze things that are going on around me, and look to share perspective with the listeners. It's been quite a journey, obviously, the last 9 years, and I thought it'd be good to look back, kind of dissect, analyze, talk about the things that helped, and also the things that maybe I do a little bit differently this time around. So I pulled aside 6 things that I think are worth discussing, and hopefully there's something there for you to inject into your world and make things better in your pursuit. So let's dive into it. Number 1 is persistence and adaptation. Now, I promise you, this is not gonna be a fluffy video. We're gonna get into some of the technical stuff and some of the more detail-oriented things that I think you can implement today. But I'd be remiss not to share this with you because I think it helps paint the picture. My channel started in 2014. I didn't start making any meaningful revenue from the channel until about 2021. So that's 6 or 7 years of very minimal growth that was sheer resilience and persistence. And the reason that's important is because a lot of people, some close to me, right, are a year into a similar pursuit and thinking that they failed, or not giving themselves the grace and the patience to continue forward. You know, you have to understand that this takes a long time. Now, could this take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and not 7 to see that exponential growth you're looking for? Of course, right? And I hope that for you. But taking 1 year for this to happen is probably gonna be the exception. And so I just wanna sort of set that expectations that adding value to an audience, building credibility, creating a reputable brand, it takes time. And you have to be willing to weather that storm. I can point to a lot of times in 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, where I was tempted to wash my hands of this and move on to something that was a little easier on my ego, right? It's hard to keep saying, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer, but not being validated for that work. And this is a testament to that. Again, it may be extreme. I don't know many people that pop off after 7 years, but I just wanna show you that the expectation can't be a month or 2 months or, even a year. If you're in it, be in it for the long haul. Be patient in the approach, but, tenacious in the day-to-day. Head in the clouds, feet on the ground. As long as you're continuously evolving, you'll get there. Number 2 is the testing and the evolution of content. So, as a good friend of mine and mentor once said, of course, you have to be, focused on putting out content that works, right? Keeping the channel and the business afloat. But a portion of your resources always have to be going towards exploring new things, making the content better, finding ways that resonate further so that you can get that exponential growth. And Dan Sullivan has a great book on this called 10X is Easier Than 2X, talking about sort of the different thinking patterns required to grow exponentially versus just linearly. But if you look back and to sort of reframe the picture, again, I write speeches, right? So I literally write stories about my life, things I learned, things that I think will motivate or inspire people. I record them and I make little cinematic movies with the speeches. In 2014, when I started, they were about 3 minutes. And it was a process, right? I was actually writing and composing the background music, writing the speeches, making sure they fit together like a puzzle. There were so many components to it. And it evolved to, let's put the music in later. Let's write maybe a 10, 12, 14-minute speech. I tried short films. I tried silent films. I wrote poetry, right? Did spoken word poetry. I love music. I was, playing guitar on the channel. Just trying so much, 20-minute speeches, 40-minute speeches, 3-hour compilations of 8-minute speeches, everything. And you learn through both the data and analytics and user feedback what resonates best. And I landed at compilations of shorter videos. People like to press play and go on a walk or a run. They like it at the gym. They like it driving in their car. And it took me a long time to get there, right? It took me a long time to realize that. And not across the board. There's always some type of exceptions, but overall, that was the best strategy for me. And these things take time. But once you arrive at them, once you understand, wow, this recipe, this formula works, you can then adjust your strategy. And I've seen massive change very quickly, not from drastically altering the content itself, right? It was always me with a mic telling stories and writing speeches, but the delivery. Always tweaking the delivery. And it's like one little tweak or one move in the right direction. It was right there, right in front of you the whole time, right under your thumb. You hit it and you get this monumental push. So to me, number 2 is continue to explore and push boundaries. Doesn't mean a huge pivot left or a huge pivot right. It means you're constantly tweaking. You're taking your unique skill set, your value add, and pushing and pushing and pushing. And you'll arrive at a place that adds incredible value and that you enjoy doing. Number 3 is having a consistent posting schedule, which may seem obvious, right? But I was pretty sloppy for years and years and years. And actually it was in about 2020, 2021 when I started to be super serious about standardizing the process. The War of Art by Steven Pressfield was life-changing for me because it instilled the notion that when you sit down to create or write or make the video that day, you do it. Whereas before I had the mindset of, okay, it's a Monday, sit down, oh, nothing's coming to me today. I have writer's block. I don't feel very inspired. Close the laptop, leave, we'll try again tomorrow. I started to feel that was unacceptable. And it was, listen, you may consider yourself an artist, and that's a good thing. You're storytelling, you're sharing something that you believe is powerful with the world, but there's a window where you need to execute. And good, bad, or ugly, you're executing and you're putting that piece of content out into the world. That mental shift dramatically changed my life and the success of the channel. Because obviously the audience knew to expect it at a certain time, and I became accustomed to systematizing things, scheduling things out. It felt like a business and not necessarily a guy in his apartment or in his studio writing when he felt like he wanted to write. There's a huge mental shift that happens there. And then, again, when the Monday, Wednesday, Friday video comes out, you have that core audience group that knows and they anticipate and they're there every day waiting. One, it's like you kind of owe it to them, but 2, they return the favor because they're excited. They show up for you. They share it with their friends. When you're arbitrarily posting at different times and not being consistent, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So seems simple, and perhaps it is, but it is absolutely game-changing. Have a schedule. Hold yourself to it. Number 4 is YouTube titles. Now, this was a huge one for me. In 2021, I invested in a YouTube coach or someone who had a very successful channel that sort of showed me the ropes. First thing he pointed to was titles and thumbnails, which I'll talk about next. If your titles aren't optimized and aren't clear, you're doing yourself a disservice. And you're doing your viewers a disservice, potential viewers a disservice, because they'll never find you. The thing about YouTube is there's this sort of misconception that people tend to come from the outside in. That happens, but not as often as winning in the platform, right? The algorithm understanding what your content's about and understanding what viewers to put it in front of. And so you want to minimize friction there. You want to be very clear what your video is about so that YouTube can recommend that video to the right people. That's how you win or lose. Not a few people on Facebook clicking a link. You win when YouTube understands what it is and shares it. And so for me, just to give you context, I don't know how unique my situation is comparatively, but there might be something here for you. My work, my speeches, they're pretty artsy, like sometimes bordering poetic. And I like that to reflect in the titles. For 6-7 years, they were things like Your Last Day on Earth or Dancing Before the Music Plays. That's great, that's nice, it makes you feel good, but no one knows what it means. You come across a video in your feed called Dancing Before the Music Plays, what do you do with that? What is that? Right? YouTube certainly doesn't know enough to take it and put it in front of similar videos. And so by just directly stating what it is, by studying the top 10 to 15 channels in my niche and understanding, oh wow, that's how clear they are. There's no guessing, they are giving the audience, the potential viewer, exactly what it is, minimizing, mitigating all questions. It helped tremendously. And right away, I started seeing an impact. I started seeing change because it bucketed me with other channels in my niche. I would go watch those channels and suddenly my stuff would start popping up underneath it, which is, again, how you grow on YouTube. So make sure that your titles are reflective of what you're trying to say, the story you're trying to tell, and done so in a concise way that aligns with other channels in your niche. That'll go a long way. Number 5, which is very similar in concept and theory to number 4, YouTube thumbnails, right? There's a saying, don't judge a book by its cover. And as much as we want to disregard that, the truth is a book's cover does matter. It's what draws us in, and it creates the branding and feel for the book. And the same thing is true on YouTube. It doesn't matter how great the video is if people are not clicking it and going in to watch it. And so first thing I had to do was create some type of cohesive theme across my thumbnails so that they had an Eddie Pinero feel, so that there was some type of branding, because my stuff was just all over the place. So step number 1 was to understand the colors and some of that nuance that would make everything feel like it fit together into my brand. The second thing is, understanding your niche is critical. If you look at what's working with, again, like the top 1 to 15 channels in your niche, it'll paint a picture for you. It'll tell you some things. It'll mitigate a lot of the guesswork. Doesn't mean you have to copy it exactly or do exactly what they do. Of course not, but there's big picture evidence right there in real time. It's gonna be different for everybody. For the niche that I'm in that channel, where it is sort of the personal development, motivational speaking type stuff, it's emotive faces, very close up with large text. Colors change, faces change, all that stuff, obviously, but the second I learned that and started implementing that, we're not talking like kind of saw a change. We're talking immediately. People started clicking more and watching more. With a video that has 100,000 impressions, a 3 or 4% increase in click-through rate is huge, especially over a long period of time. So, you improve that, YouTube also starts asking, well, are there any other videos in the channel that are similar that I can start sharing or recommending, right? It's like the rising tide lifts all boats type thing. Which brings me to the sort of second piece of this. It's something that I consistently do and put a lot of emphasis on now, testing YouTube thumbnails. And it's no exaggeration. It's a catalog that lives forever. And so some of the videos that pop off for me are from 2017, 18, 19, but they're rebranded, different titling, different thumbnails, constantly testing, constantly improving. And when you find a style that works, change it on all the videos that are around it, right? If a change improves a video's thumbnail click-through rate by 3%, why wouldn't you do that on everything? So it's this constant game of improvement and an evolution with how you're presenting your material. Always looking for better ways. Again, your content is good. The world will benefit from it, right? The point is to share it. You need to put yourself in a position so that it can be seen, and that optimizing and constant testing will get you there. Number 6 is understanding the platform you are on, understanding what makes YouTube unique, right? right? It's different than Instagram and TikTok and some of these other platforms in the sense that, particularly you take an Instagram, it has a lifespan, right? It's not true across the board, but roughly speaking, if a video doesn't do well out of the gate, it's probably not going to do well. YouTube, as I mentioned earlier, old videos live forever. Your catalog is very much alive. And so you need to play to that, understanding that YouTube can recommend this video to millions of people at any time. Nothing is forgotten, right? Everything can be improved and enhanced. And it's understanding that, you're not necessarily, unless you're a news organization or maybe like a how-to video, playing for search. You're playing for longevity. You're trying to be recommended. You're trying to be categorized and shared. And the way you look at that's a little different. I used to, when I put out a video, day 1 through 7, think that determined the success of the video. And I was emotionally tied up in that, particularly at the beginning. I'd be disappointed or sad if it didn't do well out of the gate. Part of the maturation process was first, remove that emotional piece. And second, look 30 days out, look 60 days out, look 90 days out. Be thinking long-term because that's the game of YouTube. You need to understand that. It's a living catalog. What happens in day 1 through 7 is not the fate of your video. So constantly be pushing boundaries, constantly be testing and optimizing and, looking to make your channel as good as you possibly can. Well, there we have it. 6 things I did, 6 changes I made, lessons I learned that brought me from 0 to $1 million in ad revenue on YouTube. Only took me 9 years, right? But the point is, for you, if you start implementing these things, taking action sooner, learning quicker, maybe for you it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, right? That's the point. I want you to get there quicker than I did. So hope this added some value. If it did, make sure you like and subscribe. I have a weekly newsletter where I share some thoughts with you that'll help you along the way. That's eddiepinero.com/newsletter. And I look forward to more great things to come.